Welcome to PM Express. Tonight we're going to talk about a subject that has taken the name of our Ghana Forestry Commission global. It went global because international news organizations were interested. And for the very first time, the Forestry Commission was on BBC, CNN, and international agencies. Why? Because a Washington-based organization called the Environmental Intelligence Agency sent investigators to Ghana to investigate what they believe to be the illegality and corruption happening within the circles of the Forestry Commission when it came to illegal harvesting and exploitation of rosewood. That is the subject of our conversation today. The Forestry Commission hasn't had the opportunity yet to respond. Today they have, in the press conference, quite detailed. We'll be probing some of the fundamental points that the Commission had made. I'm grateful to be joined for tonight's edition of the program by the Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission. You know him popularly as Sir John because he used to be the General Secretary of the governing New Patriotic Party. He is Mr. Kojo Owusu-Afriyie. Mr. Afriyie, thank you for your time here on PM Express.
Thank you.
You have, somebody says you are under siege. You were all over the place in terms of the name of the organization. The Washington-based report was one that was an issue. There's a talk of a parliamentary report that has also been mentioned. A colleague, a friend of yours, Dr. Clementa Park, has been on your case doing a press conference calling on the special prosecutor to look into allegations of corruption when it comes to Rosewood. Let's start with, I guess, the biggest one, the Environmental Intelligence Agency report. They alleged corruption, serious corruption, not only at the level of the commission, but also facilitated, they say, by political individuals in government. What's your reaction to these serious allegations made against the commission under your watch?
Well, first of all, let me use this opportunity to stress our thanks to your numerous viewers, and especially also to pay tribute to the fact that you are doing a very good job as far as PM Express is concerned and all other related matters. First of all, there is no truth whatsoever in the allegations that are contained in the EIA report that titled itself Bamboozled, How Corruption and Collusion Fuel Illegal Rosewood Trade in Ghana. One, we deny that there's corruption, especially against Forestry Commission staff. Two, there's no collusion whatsoever as far as we are concerned, in spite of the fact that some people are involved in the illegal rosewood trade. Let me also add that because some of them had permits issued to them by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, the job that they undertook was legal, and therefore there was nothing illegal about the salvaging of the rosewood for which they had permits.
I thought it's a ban on salvaging.
No, at the time that this report was commissioned. So it was as a result of the abuse of the processes that informed the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to place a ban on all salvaging, transportation, and exportation of the rosewood trade. But prior to that, there was nothing illegal about some of them, because some of them had valid permits issued to them by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And let me also state that prior to this last ban, there had been about 5 previous permits and banning of the people involved in the processes. At any given time that the various ministries had the occasion to doubt the genuineness or otherwise of such people involved in the trade, they ban it. And let me also add that at any given time that it is banned, you still would have some of the rosewood trees but all over the place to be salvaged. So when various governments come and then they realize that there are more of such trees still to be salvaged, they issue limited, permits for people to go and salvage those ones that are there. Again, we all know that prior to Rosewood becoming an international tree to be traded in, it was initially used for charcoal. Farmers, when they are clearing their lands for purpose of farming, would cut these things as it is most of the practice elsewhere. And then sometimes they burn them for charcoal or burn them for purposes of cultivating their farms. And so the state and the nation was not benefiting whatsoever from that. And so when rosewood became a species that was needed by China and some Asian countries, then various governments decided that let us salvage them so that the state generally could benefit from such. And that is why people started trading in. And for every tree, we have a place that it goes. For instance, with teak, teak goes to India. Chinese don't want teak. And rosewood, I'm sure Indians don't want rosewood. They want, a teak something else. So the fact that it goes to China is not to say that it is Chinese that are destroying our forests and so on and so forth, because they have a use for it.
But you have arrested a Chinese lady recently who was seen to have involved. So that's the evidence that they are seriously involved in this.
You see, from the records that I have seen, no foreigner, and let me emphasize, no foreigner had been issued with a permit to salvage or otherwise. No foreigner. The salvage permits are given to Ghanaian companies who then collect these with a view to selling it on to either to China. And in going to China, you can have some intermediaries out there who also have Chinese companies out there who are their people on the ground here. So for me, I cannot see anything untoward. If you had, say, a Ghanaian exporting it to China, or a Chinese person whose company is a representative of his company here in Ghana, and who gets this, buys this, and sells it out there. My problem would be if indeed there's evidence of any foreigner engaged in the cutting and salvaging of the rosewood. I would have a problem with that. And so that is why when this lady was arrested in this trade, she was rightfully, and let me also say that it was the Forestry Commission that did the arrest. We arrested the person because of the vigilance that we have on the ground. We arrested her, and the police, and normally the police that prosecutes, so it was given to the police for purposes of the prosecution. She was sent to court. She was granted bail by the court because the offense is a bailable offense. And I also want that to be emphasized. It's a bailable offense, and therefore the court granted her bail with substantial sureties. The first day that they went to court, I'm told she was not there. But normally, how the legal processes go, if the case is called and the accused person is not in court, the court would definitely ask the people who stood sureties for the person to produce the person at the next agenda date. And so when the case was called at the next hearing date, I learned that she appeared in court. And when she did, other agencies of state also had an interest in the matter, i.e. Immigration and so on and so forth. So they, it seems to me, asked for the hair to be brought before them because their investigations had uncovered perhaps that she did not have any status in this country. And so as we were waiting for the prosecution to commence, she was deported back to the country.
Do you support that?
There are two aspects of the law. There are people who could be prosecuted, either imprisoned or fined, and thereafter, having served their sentence, they are deported. Or alternatively, you could be arrested and deported when the authorities realize you don't have any legal documents covering you. It is lawful, there's nothing untoward about that, and therefore I would have a problem with people who are opposed to it, and I believe they are opposed to it out of ignorance, because they do not understand how the legal processes work.
But this lady had committed crime, allegedly, on our soil. If you deport her, how is that punishment?
Deportation is also a punishment.
She's going back home. There's no guarantee the Chinese government will prosecute her.
Have you seen Ghanaians who have been deported from the U.S.? Do you think that it is a palatable thing for you to be deported from the U.S. to Ghana or for being deported from London to Ghana? It is not. Go and ask those people who are going to be deported, and they will tell you they are not happy. So for you from outside, you might think that it is not punishable enough, but to the person who is being deported, it is indeed a punishable offense.
The EIA report mentioned some specific names. In fact, one particular name was mentioned, that the traffickers told EIA investigators, and they were undercover, that officials from the Forestry Commission at the local and government, regional and national levels are complicit in the scheme. And then the traffic. They mentioned one, Nana Edunsia, who is head of the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission, responsible for signing CITES, export permits, and receives a percentage of what is exported. Is this true?
No, first of all, let me state that I have always had a problem with this report. You are doing an undercover investigation into a matter. The people against whom allegations, but serious allegations are made, are not in any way, questioned by your, reporters or, for that matter, any other person. And therefore, it will not be right for anybody to be allowed to accuse an officer of the Forestry Commission without putting that person on the spot.
You know for a fact that Edunsia was not spoken to at all by the investigators?
Yes, because if he had, the report would have mentioned, this is a very comprehensive report. They would have stated that, yes, when our investigators, went to confront him with, say, this gift or that the pen, he indeed accepted it. Or that indeed, if they had gone to him to say, oh, we have sent some goods to China, but we don't have CITES to cover them, and we know that you are the only person who can help us. Could you please maybe do A, B, C, D, E? And if he had accepted that, and that became part of your report, that would have been fantastic. But there's nothing whatsoever. And he had since denied emphatically that he had not at any given time received bribes or at all from anybody. And I believe him, because he's an honorable person, having worked here for over 30 years of his life, and being in charge of CITES since 2018 and 2019, just for about a year. And he has since retired from the commission, having given an exemplary service, of his life to the Forestry Commission. I have no doubt at all in my mind that he is never.
So you took his word for it, but did you probe the allegations against him?
Oh yes, we have. The Forestry Commission did indeed, look at this because.
How?
Yes,
was an internal probe?
Yes, an
because
internal probe.
You say you only said he denied it, and you believe him.
No, but we said in a report that I issued that in spite of his denials, we would still get to the bottom of it.
So you haven't looked into this yet?
We have.
You have?
We have.
What was the outcome?
And I'm satisfied that there's nothing untoward. He had not received any bribes from anybody, and he had not compromised himself whatsoever. You see, the point of the matter is this, that Nana Dunsia is the one who signs CITES. And all the people who are into Rosewood business know him, that he is the one who gives you CITES. And before he does that, he goes through a process. Our Forestry Services Division would have looked at the things that you have on the ground, satisfied themselves, giving you a permit to go with it. TIDD would then examine the vehicle or the container that you have to see whether or not what is said to be contained therein indeed is so. It is after he had examined all these processes that he issues CITES as a last resort. So at no point in time would he issue CITES ahead of he having examined these records. And which is why it appears to me that the so-called report or the people who investigated the matter did not do themselves a good job. They should have done something on the ground to have either gotten him, compromising himself, and then this report would have been credible. It is not for the purpose that nobody came to Forestry Commission. All that they are saying is one person, they interviewed one guy who said, oh, I know him, oh, I eat with him, I go to his house. Is that enough? For somebody just to make an allegation of such grave consequences against the person, and you don't even ask him for anything. Look, you do not even kill a hen without first giving it water to drink. And that is what the law is very clear on that. He ought to have been, questioned. He ought to have been accosted. And then if he had compromised himself, we all have known. But this is a bogus report as far as we are concerned.
Apart from the Nedusia, you've said categorically today at the press conference that you are absolutely confident that all your staff members are above reproach. They don't engage in corruption. They don't take bribes. They do their jobs, and they put themselves on the line. However, the EIA report is not the only report that has raised questions about possible corruption at that level, Rosewood and others. Our own investigations, I'm sure you've seen the video, we traveled to the north and saw that this was actually happening. People were felling Rosewood and illegally transporting them. And we found evidence also that there's some collusion of a sort. How can all this happen? And you admit there's still Rosewood being harvested illegally. How can all this happen without at least the knowledge of some of your staff? Is that even possible?
It is. The reason is simple. Everybody who speaks about Rosewood and all these incidentals only speak about, oh, we have seen evidence of people doing this. We have seen evidence of this doing what. But nobody had categorically stated that I have seen Forestry Commission staff indeed felling these trees and engaged in the processing or allowing people to take them away. All that is being done is an allegation that or purely suspicious people. So if this is happening, then obviously Forestry Commission staff would certainly be
complicit.
Yes, but it is not so. People are conjecturing, and I'm afraid I am not here to speak to people who conjecture. I am here to speak about matters that are of substance. And the substance of the matter is that Forestry Commission, nobody had implicated any of my staff from being engaged in the felling of these trees. Look, let me tell you, we have also our ears on the ground. And I remember Dr. Park and the Parliamentary Select Committee going to the three northern regions to ascertain for themselves what is happening to...
Didn't they also find evidence of illegality?
Report? I've challenged Dr. Park time and time again to produce the report that they found when they went there. Where is the report? No such report, because the report did not go down his way, and therefore...
But you say the parliamentary committee traveled. Parliamentary committee travel definitely will produce a report.
Well, I challenge them to bring me the report. And you are my best friend. I think that maybe they will not give it to me, but they may give it to you if it is there. There is nothing that exists.
So why would they do the rounds?
Well, you ask a pack.
You know how Parliament works. If parliamentarians step out to investigate, and there's evidence they did do that, there will definitely be a report. The question is, yes, where's the report? But you can't say there isn't one.
No, well, if there's a report, I want to see it.
In fact,
I've asked for the report time and time again. I've challenged a park to give me a copy of the report.
But as a park, the person to challenge? You have to challenge the chairman of the committee.
Well, I challenged a park because he was the one who made the allegation in Parliament, and as a result of which, they went to those places. And I believe that if there was something untoward, a park would be very interested in finding that report. Where is it? Ask a park. Let him bring it. Here we are. Open. Let the park give me the report, and we'll all speak to it.
Dr. Clement Park held a press conference a couple of weeks back and said, repeated allegations made in the EIA report, that there are politicians, NPP politicians, top government officials, complicit in this whole Rosewood illegal trade, who, in fact, if you look at the EIA report, say that they get the permits illegally, and they then sell it off to foreigners to trade in this particular matter. That is Dr. Park reiterating that. And this happens in his backyard, in his constituency. He knows what he's talking about, and he has evidence to back it in the EIA report.
Look, let me tell you, a park speaks from a position of ignorance. First of all, the permit to salvage Rosewood is not issued by the Forestry Commission. The permit is issued by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources without interference whatsoever from the Forestry Commission. And in this report, I have read a portion that talks about the fact that it is Forestry Commission that issues the report. So again, the person who produced this report is completely, ignorant. He got it wrong, because if there was indeed such a report, and that the report emanated from anybody called EIA, they would have noticed that we do not issue permits here. And yet, Forestry Commission in black and white here, it says Forestry Commission. One, it is not true. And you and I know that it's the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources that gives permits. So again, that is not true. Two, if indeed a park has interest in this report, the EIA report, for which I'm told he copiously refers to, the same report at page 2 has given a graph here, very, very comprehensive graph, showing the upward trend or otherwise of the trade. And if you look at it in between 2011 and 2014, 2014 was at the very apogee of the trade. And 2014 was the period that APAC was in parliament, that the NDC were in government, and I challenge APAC to give me one single statement that he issued about condemning the Rosewood trade. There's nothing to his credit about that. There's none. And then it comes down. Even at 2017, that they refer to, you see that the trade was coming down. So even after the NPP had taken over power in 2017, and then I came here in March 2017, you could see that because of the measures that we put down, it is coming down. So why do you want to flog somebody who is doing a very good job by bringing these processes down instead of going up as it was during their time? And yet he will not speak to this because he does not want people to know. And that is the politics of it. APAC is doing what that he's doing is complete politics. MPP MPs, MPP members, government officials.
But a Washington D.C. agency also found same.
Oh, it's completely nonsense. That report, I'll tell you what. This report,
you can level that against APAC. But what is their interest?
It's APAC. This report is all APAC.
How can that be?
APAC started speaking to it, saying the same thing. That's
not true, because they sent private investigators. They had videos.
Who are they?
Well, individuals that they recruited.
Let me see the private investigator. Let me see the video.
Haven't you seen the EIA videos of the individuals who were wearing secret cameras recording the conversations?
Recording who?
Well, the conversations of the traffickers.
They did not record They say they recorded some traffickers. Let them do so. But we are not traffickers here. I am speaking about Forestry Commission staff. Yeah. I'm not talking about traffickers.
I'm just pointing about it. It isn't true that APAC was behind this report. It's just simply not true.
His hands are all over the place.
The EIA is a reputable Washington, D.C. based agency.
I smell APAC in all this because the things that he's talking about, since this report, and we issued a statement debunking the allegations that are made therein. Then when APAC realized that this matter is dead and gone and buried, he went to resurrect it by having a press conference and then going back again, getting
because it's a matter of concern to him. He's in parliament for a constituency suffering as a result of illegal rosewood harvesting.
In this report that he issued on 4th of July 2017, by statement to Parliament on illegal felling and harvesting. This is by a APAC statement. In this, and I've read it carefully, he blames the people who are felling on his own constituents. Why is he not going to his constituency and stopping it? Why? Because he knows who are doing it. Let APAC go to his own constituency and stop them, and he will see what will happen to him. Let him go there.
What are you suggesting?
I'm not suggesting anything. That his own people, they are going to vote against him. He knows his back is at the wall, and he's going to lose the elections. Which is why, because look, your people have no maybe good water, they have no good roads, they have no schools, they have no that. Why is it that APAC is not interested in their welfare? He's only interested in Rosewood because that was where he and his people were involved in. And
you have evidence to back this?
Oh, there is.
Where is the evidence?
There is. They were actively involved.
You are the chief executive of the Forestry Commission. If APAC has done that, you should have him arrested.
During their time.
You say that he stopped now.
My time, because he cannot do it. which is why he's not crying.
But you know you're a lawyer, thankfully,
Yes.
that there's no statute of limitation on crime. If he's done it in the past and you know about it and you're the chief executive now, you should have him arrested.
Let us wait for the ministers' committee and see what they come out with.
That is something we're going to talk about. The government has already set up a 7-man committee to look into these matters because it's absolutely important to government. When we return from the quick break, we'll talk about that. Also, we'll look at this report again and contrast it. Sir John says, well, it cites evidence to back his point that the NDC were worse when it comes to the illegal trade in Rosewood. But he says the report is bogus. How does he reconcile both positions? Stay with us on PMS. You're still on PM Express. My guest is Kojo Usefriye. He's the Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission. A commission and a lot of pressure, not only from local press, but international as well. They've been, he's had the opportunity to have his name mentioned on BBC. You mentioned something at the press conference that you tried to get BBC to talk
yes.
Well, and they didn't speak to you?
No, they didn't.
Maybe you called the wrong person.
No, I did not.
Is it a BBC?
They called, they gave a number. And I think they have a rep here. The rep wanted my number. It was a Thursday. I was in Wono, in my holy village. And then they wanted to call me. Indeed, because of that, I went to the highest point where I can get a reception. And then I did. And then I waited all day. That day, they didn't call. The following day, we called them ourselves. So look, I am ready to speak to you. So why? Let's talk. Now we don't have any further interest in this.
The story has moved on.
Yes, so who do you blame?
On the EIA report, you totally discredit the report, and yet you find opportunity to cite aspects of it to back your claim that Rosewood was illegal harvesting and felling of Rosewood was worse under the NDC. How do you reconcile both positions? It cannot be good and be bad at the same time.
No, you know what? I'm using their own documents here.
Yes.
And I'm saying that if it were anything to go by, the report that they have themselves concluded on, and for which APAC is happy to flaunt it everywhere, and to give it to one of the investigators.
That's Martin Amido. We'll talk about that shortly.
Yes. And I'm saying that if he were sincere to the report that he wants, I don't buy it. But if that is a report that he wants, and I'm saying that, let him look at this page, and I think that you can show this to the whole world. Let APAC look at it himself here in the mirror.
This is a trend analysis of the illegal trading.
The illegal trading. And he will see that 2014, it had its own apogee, reached its nadir, and then it started coming down. And then it went up during their time, 2016, until it started falling when I had come here, assuming for purpose of argument that this report that he religiously wants to quote from is correct. So, he cannot, have it both ways. He cannot say, there are 6 million trees felled, and yet will not speak to this. Because
how many trees
he's been disingenuous. He doesn't want the world to know this. And I'm taking this opportunity to let your viewers see.
But isn't that why it's the NDC government that introduced the first ban? Because they knew there was a problem. They did something about it. A ban that you've continued.
Yes. Yes. Oh, well, they banned it, and it did not avail them much. We banned it, and the evidence is there that it's going down. But when they did, they had given it to 5 of their own cronies, and they were heavily involved in that. We have stopped it, and it's coming down. And I'm happy for my minister, and I'm happy for the Forestry Commission staff and my board. They are doing a very good job here, and I'm grateful for such.
You keep saying your staff is doing a great job.
Yes.
Yet, the government has set up a 7-member team to probe you, to probe the illegal trade in Rosewood and other matters. That hasn't even started. In fact, it started today and just recently, yesterday. And yet you're already exonerating people when that process is not complete.
I know my boys. I know my guys here. And I know there's nothing toward, because this report, like I've said, like we have poo-pooed already, you cannot come and just accuse somebody without giving the person, like killing...
By your own government, your sector minister, your boss says, I am going to probe it.
I'm happy for him.
Why don't you wait for him to finish before you tell the world?
And what we are saying here today is without prejudice. We want him to go ahead and do his work. We will continue to do our work. And you asked me a very interesting question, how many trees? And this is we have a report on export of timber and wood products. That Forestry Commission we have. And it's very verifiable. It's a report that has stood the test of time. And people can talk to it and vouch for its authenticity. The report indicates that from 2012 to 2019, a total of 300,368.94 cubic meters of rosewood products had been exported, with a round wood equivalent of 385,845.50 cubic meters. And if you want to translate it into trees, it's about 257,230.
Over what period?
257,230 from 2012 to 2019. And I'm saying that there's no way that if it comes near even 300,000, let alone 1 million, let alone 2, 3, 4, and to talk about 6 million.
Do we know the rosewood population?
No, I don't.
We don't.
I don't.
So how do we tell if even this 200,000 figure is bad enough for the rosewood
That
population?
is why I've said that it is verifiable, because everything that goes, we issue CITES, and apart from CITES, TIDD, verifies and everything. So ours is verifiable. I'm not here to talk about people who speculate and then to conjure figures from nowhere and then to bandy it about and think that because it's an EIA, it is genuine. It is not. It is bogus. We have since refuted it, and they have not come back.
Do you have representation on the 7-member committee?
No,
you don't.
I don't.
Okay.
Because it's about me, so it will be unconscionable for us.
For it to have a representation on it. Some suggest, and I'm sure you've heard your opponent say this, that the way you approached this and said my people are clean, I'm clean. Some say the report will simply rubber stamp that.
No, not at all, because we are not members of that committee. And there's nothing, yes, I know myself. I know my staff, and I'm saying that my staff are clean. If the report comes to say that there's something untoward, we all look at it.
Some doubt very much that the report will contradict the position that you so vehemently expressed today.
Why? Because I'm the minister?
Because you are a very powerful member of the party.
Oh, no, I'm not.
You're once the general secretary of the party.
I'm not.
You wield a lot of political influence.
I'm not one who I was yesteryears. So I'm now your humble servant in the forest, doing a humble job to protect all of us and to ensure that we bring the greens back to the country.
But the government, the accusation is that there are government officials implicated in this process. Why is government investigating itself?
Why don't you wait, Evans, to see the outcome of that report, to see whether or not any government person is implicated?
Why don't you rather wait for the special prosecutor to do an independent job? Because APAC had gone to the special prosecutor.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see.
You can wait for the government report, but I can't wait for the special prosecutor's report.
No, I'm saying that when I say I cannot wait, it means that I'm ready. In fact, we should have been called yesterday, not even today. I'm willing to go there and then to
face Martin Aminu.
Because this is bogus.
You're willing to face Martin Aminu?
Martin would not even waste his time on this bogus APAC report. Because the man is simply, lost out there. He's going to lose his seat. And the man is desperate. It's about desperation altogether. Because the way that APAC speaks about
he won his primary recently. He won his primary recently quite handsomely.
Winning is not easy to win this primary. One-man primary. How much did he invest in that? Where is his money? Tell me. Ask APAC. Where did he get the money to invest in that, given all the money that he gave to those people?
Well, I don't have evidence to suggest that there's been any wrongdoing. You said today that some members of your staff have been shot and killed in the line of duty.
Yes.
What happened? How many?
Now we have 2 people. Previously, we had about 5 people dead. But quite recently, the last 3 months or thereabout, protecting the forest that we have all been speaking about with their lives in the night. 1 a.m. One shot in Mole, the other one in the western region, and quite about 2-3 weeks ago, another one shot in the central region. And the 2 of them unfortunately lost their lives. And I send my condolences to the bereaved families for reminding them of this shocking death and this young man here, you know, we thank God that he had his life. But even then, there are some still pellets still embedded in the intestines. And you know, so it is a painful thing. We are working to protect the forest at the peril of our lives. And I expect Ghanaians to continue to support us in this enterprise. Instead of constantly finding faults with the Forestry Commission and trying to find fault where none exists.
On the rosewood that you arrest, you impound, what happens to them?
Well, let me state that before the ban, there were some people who had valid permits to salvage. And so the ban came at the time that they were in the middle of the road bringing their stuff to the ports. And so we had instructions from the ministry to charge all such people who were bringing this at the time that the ban was in force. And so various you know, sums were charged against them. And like I said, we have so far
raised 2.5
million. And
cedis or dollars?
Oh, cedis. Yesterday, I read that nobody should quote anything in dollars, so you should be very careful if you quote things in dollars this time.
So you've raised that amount from the imposition of the fines?
From the imposition of the fines, and I'm happy to say that we have not misused those fines. Indeed, we bought about 13 Kantanka vehicles, you know, with the monies so far, you know, raised. And not only that, we have also bought some you know, saloon cars out of that. And not only saloon cars, we have also bought some one station wagon. So 20 Kantanka pickups, 20 Kantanka pickups, and then 4 saloon cars and 1 station wagon so far purchased. In addition to that, we have also you know, invested in seedlings for purposes of, you know, planting some of the rosewood back. And we have done so, the rosewood, in about 3 regions of Ghana. And one is in the northern region, Tamale, Bupe, and Bole, and then Yendi. We decided to have 4 hectares of plantation, trial plantations each in any of these areas. Altogether, we expected to have about 16 plantations, 16 hectares planted. So far, we've done 12.8 hectares. So we are still on it.
I'm curious, why are we imposing fines when we should be prosecuting people?
We are because at the time that they brought them, they were bringing them, they had valid documents covering the same. So how would you prosecute them? How are you going to succeed?
So they were left with the rosewood?
Yes.
You just impose a fine and they take the rosewood away?
Yes, why not? You impose fine on them, they pay the fines, and then you regularize it for them to go. Because they, at the time that they were bringing them, they had valid documents covering same. So why in the name of God would you want to confiscate or prosecute them?
So post the ban, the rosewoods that are still being illegally felled, what happens to those rosewood that you seize?
You go to our yard here. That is why we're going to take the press there. We go to our yard. There's various vehicles, you know, parked there.
The rosewood?
Yes.
Is it possible to even keep all that here? What is that all that you do with it? You keep it?
And that is why today I went to the board meeting the last time. I informed my board, and so we are going to take very draconian measures.
Which is?
Measures, one of which is either to ban them completely. Like when we is you know, taken, you know, they bring it to the open and ban them. Because the fact of the matter is that if you impose fines on them, if you went to court and obtained a court order to auction them, if you auction it to anybody, then obviously once you auction, you have to perfect the record for the person. And then the person is going to export it. And so, again, the press will come back tomorrow to say, oh, since the ban, even yesterday, people started exporting them again to China. So where do we go from here? So either we ban them completely, or that we give it to, say schools that will want to use it for, what do you call it, chairs and tables and so on and so forth. So we are looking at all the options. Nothing is being ruled in or nothing is being
So
ruled
all the
out.
rosewood impounded so far are still in storage.
They are all
You can
there.
account for every single one.
Yeah, you can go there and see there for
None has slipped.
No, the ones that we have, and we gave you the records. We have find them. All those people raised 2.5 million, and then you know we have you put it to good use.
Has the board approved the decision to ban the rosewood if you seize?
Well, we are talking to the board. The last time that I spoke with the board, the next time we go to the board, the jury is still out there. We'll be speaking to the board in a very short.
Rosewood is a very valuable product. Why do we want to ban them when there are uses we can put that to as a state?
Well, can you give me one of the uses?
Of rosewood?
Yes.
Rosewood.
No, what the state can do now that it's
right
been
now.
banned. Now that it's been banned. You see,
But it's already been harvested.
The point
you can
is
use
that-
it for chairs. You can
point-
use it to
well,
fit.
well, I've mentioned chairs and tables.
Yes. So
Or
for
bending
the
them.
schools, a lot of
Yes.
schools without chairs.
Or
I mean, it
bending
would be a
them.
very expensive chair for a kid to sit on, but I'd rather they sit on that than bend it.
No, it's not really expensive.
Rosewood
You
is
see,
one of the most expensive woods you can ever get in the world. In China, they are selling a bed made of rosewood for $1 million.
You know what they do with it?
Tell me.
Indeed, I have had information from my officers that there are several types of rosewood out there. Indeed, ours is not the real rosewood, ours. But you know Ghanaians, the way that we talk about rosewood, I'm told somebody says it is even dearer than oil. It's dearer than cocoa. It's dearer than what? You know how
What
Ghanaians-
international market appears it is?
Ghanaians
What
talk
international
about-
market appears? Because I'm reading a Times report that says a rosewood is being sold, a bed made of rosewood is being sold for $1 million in China.
Yes.
And people are buying it. That is valuable.
Okay, let us put value to it and make the beds here and sell them here.
Absolutely. So the state can do that.
When we
Instead
talk
of
about
banning.
state, is who? It's me.
Yourself,
Council
yes.
Commission, yes. Yeah, so when I'm saying that we cannot rule anything in or rule anything out. All options are open.
You've heard the story about the officers being shot and killed, and we'll learn shortly about the efforts to arm the forestry officers. Why is that? You know, there's a lot of backlash recently when the Interior Minister announced that even police officers who do traffic duties will be carrying arms. People are scared about that. There's a backlash. Can you imagine forestry officers now also being armed? What is the rationale behind that? Does the death of a few, some say, justify that? We'll find out what the Chief Executive makes of that when we return from this break. You're still on PM Express. My guest is still Kojo Friye. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission. Mr. Friye, you announced today that you are very close to now arming your officers in the forest. In fact, you say that your procurement processes have begun to buy guns for them. Why?
Well, it is important. If you went to Kenya and other countries where they take wildlife seriously, they are the most feared people out there. They are all armed. There's no two ways about that, because you cannot send an army to war and tie their hands at their backs.
But you're using the military. The military is giving you assistance.
Yes, but we get there yet. So we have officers out there who parade or go around the forest in the night. They could meet some wild animals that they need to, maybe protect themselves about that. They also need to meet poachers. In fact, those people who were shot and killed were all killed by poachers and such other people. And so, and if you are not armed, and if you just go with nothing, obviously you are at a big disadvantage. And so it is important that in fact, they had already had arms and ammunition, but these were the obsolete ones. So we need to now, in this modern day, we need to change that. And all the people who are doing this illegal trade and activities are armed to the teeth. How would you expect my staff to go there unarmed in the night to face them? So it is important that they need to be armed. And we have had already training at the Suchare, trained by the 64 Battalion. So they are well equipped, well trained to handle guns and so many other forms. But they need that in order to put the fear of the Lord in people. Not necessarily used it to kill anybody or killing any of the animals, but they need that for the defensive purposes. So we will do that. I'm not prepared to allow several people to die and before everybody comes to say that now they need it. This is the time and we are going to do it.
Before Rosewood became a big deal, you were dealing with illegal mining in forest reserves.
Yes.
And there was a lot of fight on your hands there too to try and deal with this. What's the status of that in terms of dealing with that particular problem?
Oh, it's gone down. Just like Rosewood menace is going down, it's also gone down. Indeed, last week or so, about 3 people were arrested doing illegal mining in some of our forests, and they have all been arrested and prosecuted. And was it yesterday when I got the information, 2 or 3 of them have all received, I think, 3 years, imprisonment with various, and then the excavators, given to Forestry Commission. So we are still, we are not going to bed yet because they will not sleep. And these guys that we arrested, I think in Bibiani, they were in the off reserve. And then gradually in the night, they moved into our forest. And you know what excavators can do within 30 minutes? Mm-hmm. They can just destroy almost half of the entire Forestry Commission property here. So that is how serious it is. So when they start and then you do not apprehend them, by the time you see, the whole entire forest is gone. So we are, chasing them. We are prosecuting people, and we are succeeding in getting people.
Recently, the Ochehene criticized a new policy to allow community mining, they called it. Have you heard about that policy?
I know about community mining. My interest is that community mining is certainly not done in my forest. You see, I have...
But is a policy that defined in terms of what the government wants to do? Because the president announced it.
Yes, I speak to the interministerial people or my minister. This is not for me to talk about.
But your forest? Is your forest?
No, my forest is not part of it because I'm not prepared to allow anybody to go into a forest.
Why not?
Because forest reserves are gazetted. It is out of bounds for everybody, and I will not allow anybody to go there and do anything.
What if it's being done sustainably?
It will not. Nobody will tell you to go into a forest.
But you're allowing diamonds. Was it diamonds or bauxite to be mined into our forest, which is your forest? Well,
you speak to the minister about that, or speak to the people who deal with that.
No, but I'm asking you to reconcile. You will not allow community mining in your forest, but you allow bauxite mining in your forest.
Well, sustainable maybe mining, yes, but I don't know.
But I just mentioned sustainable community mining. He said no way.
I don't know about community mining. Community mining is not done. You see, by definition, these mining, small mining things that we talk about are not done in the forest. They are done in the off reserve. It is mostly large-scale mining that is being done in the forest. Large-scale mining. But certainly these small mining things that we talk about.
But large-scale mining is certainly far more devastating to the forest than the small scale.
Well, I don't know about that. You look at gauge it against.
Has the bauxite thing been settled now? When are they beginning?
Well, I don't know about that.
But that's your forest.
Well, you must because nobody's in the forest now. Wait and let us see whether.
But you've seen the protests.
Well,
in Etiwa.
I haven't seen the process.
You have?
No, I haven't.
You are Sir John. I know you have.
No, I haven't.
You have your ears on the ground.
No,
you recently told the country you didn't go to Etiwa.
Unfortunately for me, I have not gone there yet. I'll be going to the Eastern region next week.
You will go to Etiwa?
I don't know whether Etiwa is part of it. I'll get my guys to check to see where I'm going.
You seem uncomfortable about this particular subject.
Which one?
This is the first one you asked me to go and ask the minister about.
Which one?
The Etiwa and bauxite.
No, not really. Both community mining, I asked you to go and see the minister and the Etiwa. So
but you were confident on the community mining. You were confident on the community mining that you will not allow it in your
It doesn't get into the forest.
But when it came to the bauxite, you said ask the minister.
So I don't know where they want to
because I know you. You are not one to shift responsibility.
Look, if it's not given to you, you cannot respond to that. This is my minister. Unfortunately, I'm not the minister. I wish I were, but I'm not. So I'm only your humble servant at the Forestry Commission doing the humble work here.
This is just, by the way, you are a political animal true and true.
Really?
Next year is an election year.
Yes, and we win. the new patriotic party
I expect
will win,
you to say that.
Nana Akufo-Addo will win hands down.
What
There's
role
no
do you,
two ways
what
about
role
that.
is Sir John going to play in this, if at all?
But the whole,
Are you going to enjoy the seat here, or you're going to go into the trenches?
the whole country would be working to ensure that
Well, I'm
Nana
asking
Akufo-Addo
you.
win the elections.
I'm asking you. Are you going to sit here, or are you going to go into the trenches?
I don't know where I'll be tomorrow. I wish that.
What's
His
your plan
Excellency-
for the election?
His Excellency. My plan is that we win hands down.
Would you
And
contribute, and
that-
how?
Of course, why not? I mean, obviously, Akufo-Addo will have 4 more years, and then Bawumia will continue to get another 4 more years or 8 more years. So I'm happy that we're doing so well
Their primaries
for now.
are coming in September, this month.
Oh, which one?
Parliamentary primaries for orphan constituencies.
Oh, ask Kogofu about that, because I've not been following.
Are you
this.
interested in the parliamentary seat?
Which one?
Just anywhere in Ghana?
But do we have vacancies yet?
Well, you can pick a form, and your party is a democratic one.
Wait until the nominations open, and then we'll see who picks and who doesn't pick.
That is opening the door for you to pick the form.
You know, in politics, you never say never as a politician.
I thought you
let's
hung
wait.
your boots. You've retired.
Well, in politics, you never retire. And I want to re-echo the words of Nana Akufo-Addo when he says that there are 2 things that he took. A lawyer, being a lawyer, we don't have retirement age, and in politics, there's no retirement age. Fortunately for me, I am a lawyer and I'm a politician, so I am on all fours with Nana Akufo-Addo.
It's very likely then. It's not. It's you can't rule. We shouldn't rule it out that you might pick a form.
You don't rule anything in or rule anything out. In politics, you never say never.
So Sir John is not ruling out the possibility of coming back in a position of politics in the party.
I'm not ruling anything in or ruling anything out.
That is a political answer
Oh, really?
to a very simple question.
But look, I'm happy for people who will be contesting, and I'm happy that our party, unlike the NDC, who are learning from us, and who are always, doing a lot of things that destroys their party. Our party is solid on the ground, and our people are very solid, and we are focused for Akufo-Addo to win the next elections, and that is my joy, to see Nana Akufo-Addo become the president again, and then we move on from there.
Do you still fear delegates?
Because I'm not contesting today, I'm not afraid of them.
Anymore?
Let's wait and see.
You stop fearing delegates.
Let's say, but see, what I said
and
was
leave the
that,
ghost.
Apart from the ghost, the next thing to be feared is the delegate.
Is the delegate.
But today, because there are ghosts here today, I'm afraid of the ghost. I'm not
More than
afraid
the
of
delegates.
Let's wait until Kogofu contests, and then we'll see.
Okay. That's John. Always interesting to speak to him. And thank you very much, Mr. John.
Thank you
for your time. I don't know, why did they call you Sir John, by the way?
You know what?
Because I call you Mr. John and you answer, but your name is Kojo Usefriye.
I'm Sir John. You see, Samson and Delilah, you know the story.
Yes.
You know how Samson got his eyes gouged out?
Yes.
It was because he showed the woman where the secret was. That if you shaved him, all his energy is gone. And then they shaved him, and that was the end of Samson. I don't want anybody to be a Samson, a Delilah, so who tempt me to show where my strength is. So I think that's sufficient unto the day.
So that's why you have varied names.
Really?
So that's it for PM Express tonight. My guest has been Kojo Usefriye. I'm sure you might see him on the campaign trail soon, but he's the chief executive of the Forestry Commission, and he will be in the forest, he says, making sure that rosewood is not felled illegally or exported, also dealing with illegal mining as well. I'm thankful that you joined me.
And not only rosewood and illegal mining, but all other species as well.
Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.